Welcome to Mania Tuesdays, not Mania Mondays. We had the day off yesterday over here at Stochastic Best Ball, and we are Stochastic in the middle of a rebrand, no longer Osmo, still the same great projections, the same great team guiding our projections over there, and we are excited to be back with the Best Ball Mania 3 tournament, another round trying to win that $1 million, and with me to try to take this one down is Nick Lepre. Follow him at Notorious FNTSY. How you doing today, man?
I am doing great. I hope everyone in chat had an excellent 4th of July weekend. I know I had a great time. I didn't come back looking like JPP. I have all my fingers, so I'd say it was a pretty good job.
Nice job, man. Yeah, it was a really nice extended weekend. But today, I'm going to be honest, man. You guys were grinding the videos, did some awesome content for the Osmo Fantasy Football channel, breaking down some really interesting tight ends. I digress. I had all sorts of activity happening in my apartment today, and of course, you can't time any of these things because I need a plumber, and you never know when the plumber's actually going to show up. They say 9 a.m. Of course, it's 12 p.m. My wonderful, wonderful fiance, who I'd never say anything bad about, ordered a kumquat tree while she is away on a business trip, and I will suddenly have to care for this kumquat tree, and my apartment bell rang exactly as we were about to start this live stream. No, I have no idea how to care for a kumquat tree. Do you, Nick?
I don't even know what the fuck a kumquat tree is, so
it is a citrus.
Best of luck.
I know this.
All right. Got to do some research then. Got to keep care of it.
We love her, but we're going to go on. I guess we should do some best ball. We should talk some best ball, some NFL stuff. It's going to be a really fun draft. We're learning more and more about these teams, even as this is sort of a slow period for the NFL. We got training camp starting up at the end of this month, and by mid-August, we're going to be well into the preseason, and we're going to have teams showing with their actions what they mean to do on the field. Although we have seen in the preseasons teams start to sort of hold some of their cards for the regular season more and more, especially with injuries being a small factor to worry about as well. Any key news as we jump into the draft here on Underdog that you're keeping in mind as we start to draft here in the early to mid parts of July?
Yeah, my favorite news is that Adrian Peterson's boxing Le'Veon Bell has nothing to do with fantasy football, but who do you got in that fight? I just want to know real quick.
Adrian Peterson, man. He's got that dog in him. I think that we should. Oh, thank you, Captain Spock. We'll make sure we fix that. I'll fix the gain and everything, or move the mic closer. But yeah, I think Adrian Peterson has been. His longevity plays out here. Le'Veon Bell, ultimately, his time being shifty behind the box of the Pittsburgh Steelers is not going to do him well in the boxing ring, in my opinion. How about you?
Yeah, I think Adrian Peterson is going to win as well. I feel pretty confident in that. I moved my mic back, so I think maybe we are good now. But let us know, Spock, in the chat if this is wildly off. This is one of the biggest downsides of StreamYard, is there is no way to tell how loud my mic is compared to his when we're just talking here.
Appreciate you guys for hanging out here on this Tuesday afternoon. Have we entered the draft? We're just waiting to get into it. Is that what's going on right now, Nick?
I'm going to enter the draft now. I was going to let people kind of spill in, and then we're going to enter the draft right now. So if you guys do want to draft with us, I did just click the enter button right now, and I will display it on the screen. There hasn't been too much NFL news recently that is really screaming out to me. Was there anything that you saw when you were kind of asking me that question? Maybe you had something in mind.
Nothing in particular, but there are some players that I'm kind of going back and forth on. This Mike Tomlin interview on the Pivot podcast was really interesting. Honestly, worth a watch. The whole thing was really, really good. And not all of it was football related, just life stuff in general. Really interesting guy to listen to him talk. But they are relying on Najee Harris as a major leader on this team. And no matter what they say about reducing his snap share, reducing his volume has never been in the cards here. I think really what this means is they don't want him to take these blocking snaps. And if he's the fourth option, he may not be in there on some, third and long receiving snaps. I still expect Najee Harris to be leaned on as a core player like few running backs are in this league. Honestly, I think the first round potential is really, really high. I'm not going ahead of players like Derrick Henry, who's another one I'm kind of coming around on. How many players have we seen like Derrick Henry in the NFL? I think maybe he's going to be different than the typical 28, 29-year-old. I digress. Derrick Henry and Najee Harris are two players who I have been kind of scared about in the first round, who I'm kind of coming around on as really solid picks, especially in redraft leagues.
Yeah, I've already been pretty high on Najee Harris. Derrick Henry is also one of those guys that it's so weird because he's kind of old and he runs the ball so much, but it doesn't seem to matter at all. Like if you go back to Alabama in college, he wasn't really this crazy workhorse until probably the last 2-3 years in the NFL. And yeah, there is no more puppy but superflex anymore on Underdog. It filled already, where this is the Best Ball Mania 3. Hopefully this is named correctly because I didn't even check it out, and it is not. So shout out to me for looking beforehand.
Yeah, and I mean the first round is the first round. We're obviously splitting hairs. These are the players who have the least amount of warts on their profile here. But we've been talking up Austin Eckler. We had a debate of Christian McCaffrey versus Jonathan Taylor. That's how close these players are in our projections. Honestly, if you just stat out both of those top running backs, McCaffrey comes out a little bit better on a per game basis. But I feel like those back end running backs of the first round have not gotten as much love, especially with the playoff score on on Stochastic.com. I'm going to do that 1 million times this summer, showing that the playoffs look really good for Derrick Henry. That's enticing for me because they obviously plan to give it to him a whole lot, like 25 to 30 opportunities per game when things are going right for Tennessee.
Yeah, someone that I was listening to Jake Seeley and Pat Mayo talk about this. What are your thoughts on Cam Akers? Because realistically, I feel like we should all be much higher on Cam Akers than we are, unless you're really worried about the injury. It seems like the team really does want to commit to him, and I'm kind of starting to move up on Cam Akers. What do you think?
So they don't rush a player like that back for a Super Bowl run unless they believe in him long term
Yeah.
as a key part of the offense. They want him to be the guy in Los Angeles. Here's the thing I'm concerned about, Nick. As we get into this draft, we're going to find out our draft position in just a moment. I don't know how good running backs can really be just after an Achilles tear. I know he was super young. I know we've already seen him on the field, but how effective is he going to be? If we're talking about college Cam Akers in this offense, absolute beast. But you got to discount what he can do on the field right now for the Achilles tear. I would be so happy to be proven wrong.
Yeah, no, definitely. I understand discounting it, but running back 18 seems a little low if he does really see that volume. And Captain Spock is correct. If you do not hit the like button, that thumbs up, your running back one will get a season-ending injury. So that is true.
Hey, that's a pretty good line there, Captain Spock. Thanks for that one. Yeah, but again, yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. Definitely hit the like and subscribe buttons so that the YouTube algorithm understands what this Stochastic Best Ball channel is all about. The 10th overall pick, just as we're talking about those late round one running backs, obviously the 110, there's some really solid wide receivers who we know are going to have available here. I'm just kind of more excited for this spot than I would have been a day ago.
Yeah, I like this spot here at the 10 spot because of the hook when you come back. At 10 right now, I think it's pretty open based upon what you could do. You could really do anything. You go running back, receiver, or tight end. Right now, I am kind of starting to get really high on trying to take Mark Andrews more aggressively inside of the second round, but that's just me.
Look at you coming around to early tight end. How the process has evolved over the course of the summer. Not to say that that's the only way to win a best ball league, but there is a big tier gap, especially in these first three and I'd say first six or so tight ends compared to the rest of the field. It's been like that for a while. Travis Kelsey's been the mainstay in there for now half a decade. I think we could consider him at the 110 if he's around as well.
Yeah, definitely. And he is probably the safest player to stack with Patrick Mahomes because in reality, we know exactly what his role is. He is the probably number one target on the team. He's the safe guy. There's going to be other receivers there that probably end up blowing up, right? But if I had to guess who's going to finish pretty safely with Pat Mahomes, it would definitely be Mr. Travis Kelsey. I know this is not an old video. We are streaming live right now. So we are up on the board. What are you thinking?
I think we got to go Najee. I think we got to go with exactly what we're talking about. I know the offense isn't great. We don't know the quarterback situation, and the press has been a little bit quote negative. But I think this player is going to be relied on way more than people are realizing this year. I think the snap numbers may be down, but the touches won't be. Najee Harris, a solid workhorse running back, and I think this is a great chance to maybe go anchor RB, especially at this spot in the draft.
Yeah, definitely. And there's only a couple of running backs in the NFL that really are that quote unquote workhorse guy like Najee Harris. And to be honest, when you get that at the end of the first round, I just love it. I understand that there's people worried about, oh, how good is Trubisky going to be? How good is Pickett going to be? Doesn't even fucking matter because Big Ben was terrible last year. And we
Exactly.
still see Najee Harris have a great year. The offensive line, though, is not the offensive line of the past in Pittsburgh with Le'Veon Bell. So that is one concern that the offensive line just really isn't all that great.
Yeah, even if we just get a league average line and even just anywhere closer to league average quarterback play, ooh, Saquon Barkley at the 2-2. That's aggressive, but I kind of get it. We got to go Mike, right? Mike Evans or Mark Andrews, as you were saying, get more aggressive. Evans
Yeah,
is the pick for me.
I like Mike Evans here as well. I think if we were to have went running back, my pick probably would have been DeAndre Swift, but Mike Evans without Gronk. Now, again, I still think Gronk is going to return, and yeah, MVP, the Puppy Butt Super Flex is not open anymore. I just didn't name the stream correctly. That's on me. So blame Nick in the chat. It is what it is. But I think Mike Evans has a very strong role in this offense. Godwin's injury, they're seeming like they're going to put him on the pup list, which is now 4 weeks. I think previously that was 3 weeks. So 4 weeks now. That's a pretty solid hit. And again, Mike Evans is just a fucking touchdown machine. The touchdowns never come down. He's like Julio Jones. Julio Jones never scores touchdowns. Mike Evans always scores touchdowns. So I love Mike Evans, and I'm very excited to see what Mike Evans is going to do in 2022.
I think he has 25 plus. I think it's 27 touchdowns since Tom Brady became a Buccaneer.
Yeah,
That's a
just
lot of
insane.
touchdowns. Touchdowns help you win fantasy weeks. In case you forgot this summer.
Yeah, I mean, and he also scored Tom Brady's quote unquote final touchdown, if you seem to remember. And that ball went for $1 zillion, and then Tom Brady's back. So great purchase by that person.
How did he finagle his money back, too? That's the part that I can't believe.
Well, I assume maybe whoever was selling it, maybe they just felt bad. Like, hey, this should not be worth this much money. I don't know.
I don't know if it was that easy. I'm not sure. Anyway, we see a couple running backs go in the mid-second. Deebo Samuel, just insanely efficient last year. With Trey Lance, can he be as efficient as last year? Leonard Fournette, a solid late second pick. This is a part of the draft where the late second round has typically been an area where I kind of hated this spot. You know, you pick at number 1, 2, or 3, and then you're kind of left with the slim pickings of the players with no warts on their profile. But this year, especially, there are so many interesting running back ones, young running back ones, who have a history of being elusive or are in impotent offenses. You know, even as we look how many running backs are going off in the top 24, it does confirm to me why we wanted to think about going hero or RB, because let these sort of mid-tier running back ones get gobbled up while we stay with Najee. We'll come back to the running back position around pick 75, 80.
Yeah, I definitely like the hero running back strategy. It seems just like it also really does depend on your draft room, though, especially in redraft leagues, because there's going to be leagues where there's people that are just very into the zero running back strategy. Now, a lot of these high stakes drafts, I'm seeing people are just completely fading away from the running back position early, and that's when you hop on the running back position. But I'd say a majority of leagues, people are more enticed by the running backs, I would say.
Yeah, and obviously there's some game theory behind it. The expected injury rate for running backs a little bit higher, especially those who touch the ball often, or especially those with higher ADPs, like first 5 rounds. But when you got talents like Nick Chubb and Travis Etienne going at the 22 and 27 pick to Cleveland 2021. I'm just highlighting one player here on our draft board. That's just fine, man. Mark Andrews at the 28, what a steal. That's
Yeah, that's a
awesome.
steal. He's going to be probably close to a first. Now, he's not going to be picked in the first round, but I'm talking maybe like the first 5, 6 picks of the second round in basically every draft. So that's an amazing value right there, especially with the start to the team: Cooper Kupp, Leonard Fournette, and Mark Andrews. I think that's an excellent start.
And then, let's point out some other strategies being implemented here. At the 5th overall, Thunder 41-395 is going 0 RB essentially to start. Chase, Debo, and A.J. Brown. That works for me. And then we got, the first 3 running back. The highest T is Huey Man, 84. Our first quarterback goes at pick 32. We are up in 2 picks. And, let's see what we got going on. I mean, we could just kind of eat our vegetables with James Conner, right? Just take the expected opportunity. But to be honest, I like going for a double tap here of this whole wide receiver tier, which I really, really like, and sticking with our strategy. Honestly, I like the Denver wide receivers before Mike Williams. I'm fine with this entire group down to Allen Robinson. Literally, I would just roll a dice at this point. I love every single player here.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go Cortland Sutton. He would be my pick here. What are your thoughts, real quick, on Cortland Sutton versus Jerry Jeudy as we wait for our pick to come back around? Because I am definitely more on the Cortland Sutton train personally.
I think Cortland Sutton is the play for best ball in the sense that who's more likely to get 10 plus touchdowns in the low probability outcome that is. It's still Sutton who sees that more likely than Jerry Jeudy. I think I actually mentioned this on our best ball channel in one of our shorts recently that I think they have highly complementary skill sets. Jerry Jeudy is constantly beating man coverage. His target separation is elite already. He's simply just not seeing the ball. That will
Yeah.
change. I know that part. But Cortland Sutton is that next Mike Evans prototype. He's best comparable on Player Profiler to Alshon Jeffrey, who is a touchdown monster. 91st percentile catch radius, 97th percentile agility score. Russell Wilson as his quarterback. Just a lot to love here. And that's not something that I'm used to saying about the Denver Broncos over the last few years, since really Peyton Manning was, old Peyton Manning.
Yeah. Except for Brock Osweiler, of course. I love Brock Osweiler.
Brock, man. Made a lot of money to play terribly and won a ring. That is not a bad, short-lived NFL career.
Yeah, he absolutely stole millions of dollars from Houston. But we're back up on the board. Zeke, Mike Williams, George Kittle off the board, and Terry McLaurin. We're back up here. You want to go wide receiver. Who would your pick be? Mine would be Deontay Johnson.
Well, I would actually rather stack it up. I would go with Jerry Jeudy personally or Allen Robinson. I'd tie myself to an elite quarterback or an elite offense instead of going with the expected opportunity. I like all 3 of these players, Waddle, Moore, and Johnson. They are my short list of most efficient wide receivers, that top tier of efficiency for wide receivers. But I still want the offense. I still want to stack.
Okay, so I'm fine. We went with Jerry Jeudy there. I personally believe if this was a redraft league, would you have done the same thing? I definitely would not have.
Probably not. Probably not. This is a good example of deviating from the script for best ball game theory purposes.
Yeah, definitely. In redraft, I definitely would have went Deontay Johnson there. I also think it was kind of interesting. What are your thoughts on stacking your receiver with a running back if you weren't to have wanted to go quarterback? Because we did have Najee Harris. Does that kind of impact your decision at all or no?
It probably means that I don't want to mega stack Pittsburgh, which I wasn't really planning on doing
Oh, yeah.
anyway. But a skinny stack of Pittsburgh, think about DFS winning lineups in your head. Just a typical NFL DFS winning lineup typically has a skinny stack like running back, wide receiver, or running back, tight end, or wide receiver, tight end from a game that's not necessarily part of a core stack. I would be absolutely fine with that. Are there teams that I'm valuing skinny stacks more than the Pittsburgh Steelers this year? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Alrighty. So in the chat, there was a pretty solid question that I wanted to bring up. Considering BBM does start 3 receivers, how much does that change your draft strategy compared to a generic 2 wide receiver draft? For me, if there is only 1 flex spot and 2 wide receivers, I am not as likely to go super heavy on the wide receiver position early. Whereas if there's 2 receivers and 2 flexes or 3 receiver and 1 flex, then I'm much more likely to kind of hammer in on the wide receiver position since I will be starting probably 4 every single week. So that really does change my thought process. A lot of people talk a lot about 3 receiver leagues, but I think most generic leagues are most of the time 2 receivers only.
So when you're talking about two receiver best ball leagues, especially half PPR like Underdog Fantasy is, that opens up a strategy when the roster construction is a little bit different, where you can have one elite wide receiver and then just throw darts because the computer is going to optimize, is going to pick the best wide receiver. When you're looking to fill two wide receiver roles every single week, the probability of you being able to do that with your 7, 8, or 9 receivers that you pick is actually incredibly low. To fill one slot, it's actually pretty darn high. We're talking about a coin flip or higher if you do it right. So there's a new roster construction strategy that opens up for these two wide receiver drafts. I wouldn't really implement it if it's whole point PPR and two wide receivers because the wide receiver value is still really high, especially in the mid rounds. But that's just kind of the way I'm seeing the difference there. That just opens up a different avenue that just really isn't available, say, in this best ball mania today.
Yeah, definitely. Every kind of league format changes pretty drastically how my opinion is on what you guys want to be doing. And that's why when we talk about these things, if you guys have any questions, make sure to let us know. So after we went Jerry Judy, I'll just name off a bunch of names. If there's any players we want to talk about, we can do that. Gabe Davis, Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, James Conner, DJ Moore, Darren Waller, Brandon Cooks, Cam Akers, Brees Hall, Dallas Goddard, and then Darnell Mooney. One of the players we kind of highlighted was James Conner earlier. Seems like people are kind of low on James Conner. I understand that he scored a ridiculous amount of touchdowns last year, right? He was a heavy hitter in the touchdown category, but what makes people believe that that's going to go down, right? In my opinion, I think he's going to be just fine.
Also, the competition he's dealing with is probably the worst of his career. Maybe
Yes.
some of those Steelers teams without Le'Veon Bell available to him that he like took over right at the start of the season, notwithstanding. But Darrell Williams and a bunch of 6th and 7th round picks. I think Eno Benjamin is going to play legitimate snaps for this team, which is not a great place to be if you're the Arizona Cardinals. The thing that concerns me here is that Kyler is going to run in the red zone. Kyler is going to pass in the red zone because this is a pass happy offense. But if you just talk about offensive expectations and expected snaps for a running back, James Conner looks as good as anyone, especially at the 44th pick.
Alrighty. So we are about to be back up on the board right now. We got Najee and then the wide receiver trio of Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Judy. A lot of quarterbacks on the board, but we don't need one. Where do you want to go here?
Let's see. Wide receiver still really interesting to me. Um, I love Chris Godwin, even if it's going to take him a few games to come back. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I have above both Godwin, Bateman, Amari Cooper, and Schultz are both rising up my boards. But as we implement this hero RB strategy, I'm really intrigued by this revamped, a little bit Detroit offense.
Yeah, I like Amon-Ra St. Brown a ton as well. I do worry about Chris Godwin. There have been very weird reports. It seems like it's going to be 4, 5, 6 weeks. And again, in best ball, it's a lot different, right? Because in a redraft league, you draft them, you can throw them on the IR, you can pick someone else up. Right
Sure.
here, you're kind of fucking stuck with the guy being a dud on your bench. Now, when he does return, he's going to be amazing. I have a lot of Chris Godwin shares already, but as we get closer to August and there's no more like once the news stops being super positive, it makes me worry a little bit. But maybe that's just me being a little scared. I understand it's not the safest strategy drafting Chris Godwin,
Yeah,
but his upside is immense when available.
I'm trying to buy the dip here on Godwin a little bit. When we ran our first run of projections and we had him slated for 3 games missed as a very conservative, probably or a very aggressive projection for him, Godwin was in our top 20 in our first run of projections. So I know the upside is immense. Now, do I think that 4 games missed or more is more and more likely here? Yeah. Do I think 10 games missed is now in the range of outcomes? Yeah, I do. I actually think that a good estimation right now is 5 games missed. And even so, we're starting to get to that point where it's worth it. I'll tell you what, though, I'd rather have Adam Thielen. I think this guy could have one more monstrous year. Dalton Schultz is that low key tight end one. Oh, and there goes that whole quarterback tier I was kind of avoiding because I'm interested in Tom Brady or Russell Wilson with the build we've got.
All right, so let's go with Adam Thielen. Any thoughts, real quick, on Dalton Schultz? Would you consider him or no?
Oh, hell yeah. If you were in on him, I'd be in on him here. Absolutely. I think he's a part of an elite offense. Thielen, I'm hoping, has this chance to be like a Allen Robinson, like Odell Beckham from the Rams last year. I think the wide receiver 2 on a Ram style offense would be incredibly valuable, not just expecting touchdowns from him. I think we get one more elite year from Adam Thielen.
Yeah, Adam Thielen and Amon-Ra St. Brown, our last two picks, are probably my two biggest targets in the 5-6 turn range over here where we are at. Adam Thielen's a guy that I talked about when his ADP was 120 on Underdog. I've been drafting this guy like it's my job. I fucking love Adam Thielen. When he's healthy, this guy's a touchdown machine. Him and Justin Jefferson scored the exact same amount of touchdowns. How many games did Adam Thielen miss? Was it 4, 5, 6 games, something like that? And they scored the
I
same
believe
amount of
4, yeah.
touchdowns. Pretty clear that Kirk Cousins loves to throw the ball to Adam Thielen in the red zone. And even if Irv Smith does kind of have that ascension that people who watch my videos last year, they know I fucking loved Irv Smith. I thought he was going to go crazy. Didn't end up working out for us. He got hurt. But I really think that Adam Thielen has a very clear role in this offense. And it seems like people just forgot how good he really could be.
This is a situation where, unlike the press we've gotten with Chris Godwin, I'm kind of reading it. I am reading into the noise as some signal here. There's been a lot of reports coming out of Minnesota's mini camps, going into their training camp, saying that the real identity change here is that this is a pass first team now, which makes me think that Irv Smith as a third receiver, or maybe even KJ Osborne, because the Rams offense tends to use 11 personnel, which is 3 wide receiver sets quite often, could be low-key valuable, and Kirk Cousins may have a passing volume we have not seen. He was number 1 in touchdowns per drive last year, or Minnesota at least was, and number 1 in least amount of interceptions per drive. So if you combine keeping the ball and per drive efficiency, add some volume, and with the talent they've got there, obviously Jefferson, Thielen, even Dalvin Cook stands to gain a little bit of value theoretically if this team is more high-powered offensively.
Yeah, and I don't even think they need to be significantly more pass-heavy for a guy like Adam Thielen to really ascend even further than where he's at. And Dalvin Cook, you could almost make the argument that if you draft him and Alexander Massa, now I'm not going to do that in a best ball tournament, but in a redraft league, they could easily finish number 1 if you combine them together.
Yeah, and it's interesting here as we go. We have now officially implemented Hero RB. Essentially, we're going to be right at pick 80 with this next pick, which would definitely, if we took a running back here, no shame in that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, once again, looking very enticing at that spot. But I almost think we work on completing some stacks here. Maybe we get Russell Wilson right around his ADP, Tom Brady as well. Maybe just finish out the quarterback position if we get so lucky to do so.
Yeah, I agree. And while I do like Clyde Edwards-Helaire a ton, I really do like this range of Melvin Gordon, Devin Singletary, Rashad Penny. I really think Rashad Penny is the number 1 running back on the Seattle Seahawks. There have been positive reports for Rashad Penny. I don't need no positive reports to believe that. I really think Penny is better than Kenneth Walker. And again, maybe next season could Kenneth Walker blow up and be fantastic? Definitely, right? But we're playing fantasy football for this season. We're drafting for this year. And I think that Rashad Penny's the guy.
You know
Pete
what?
Carroll.
I agree with you, Nick. Sorry, I cut you off. Finish your story because I've got a slight rebuttal.
No, I was just going to say Pete Carroll really just doesn't give a fuck where he drafts a guy. He's really just going to, and I've said this a billion times, so people probably already know this, but he really does just, if he likes you, he's going to commit to you.
I think he wants to commit to Rashad Penny. I think, damn it, bogey up. If you're listening to the stream, well done. We said, we telegraphed it, but I think Rashad Penny's going to get hurt. That's really what I think. That's the bottom line.
Probably will.
Another thing that I've been hearing is that Dak Prescott is going to be running more this season, a year removed from his fractured ankle that ended his 2020 season. That is another player I'm getting more and more interested in. But Tom Brady is the guy for me here.
Yeah. I love Tom Brady, and that what you just brought up makes perfect sense, right? Dak Prescott was dealing with injuries last year, and he was pretty inconsistent, right? If you remember week 1 against Tampa, the guy looked like the best quarterback on earth. Then the next week, he falls off a bridge. I think that this season we see a little bit more consistency, and hopefully without the injury, we could see him rush the ball a little bit more. I think that's kind of similar to what we saw with Russell Wilson last year. Wasn't really all that mobile, but I think under the Denver regime and this much better offense, I think we see him run the ball a little bit more compared to what we saw last year.
Agreed. Now, here is our first opportunity to get to that high upside 8th round plus tier of the running back position. Do you want to sort of start that final run, or do you want to double tap quarterback and just be done with it? Because we do get the benefit of likely adding another position. Though I have to say that since Alex Osimo Baker released that article about the
Three
opportunistic
quarterbacks.
nature of a 3 quarterback build, I've been leaning that way more than the extra roster spot.
Yeah, I've been doing that too. The guys fooled me if it's incorrect. But Captain Spock, I do agree with you as well. Apparently, Joe Burrow is trying to run the ball a little bit more. That does make sense. Again, last year he was coming off that ACL, the UCL, like all of his the CLs tore for him. So makes sense that he wasn't running too much. We saw it in the playoffs. He can definitely run the ball. My pick here would probably be Dak Prescott. I wish we took Dalton Schultz now, looking back, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah. I almost wonder if you take TJ Hawkinson here and then we can do a backdoor Detroit stack as well, which is going to be a little bit more rare. Now we've got this skinny Tampa Bay, a little bit of Denver. We could
Yeah.
follow it up with some late round Kansas City. Try to hit that Denver Kansas City matchup. What do you think?
Let's go. Let's go, TJ Hawkinson, because I don't have any Hawkinson. I kind of talked about him today with Gajeski on the Fantasy Football channel, and Gajeski kind of talked me a little bit more into Hawkinson. Now, I wasn't necessarily out like saying, "Oh, don't draft him," but
Sure.
I wasn't super excited about him. I understand Detroit isn't the best offense ever, but he got it done last year. He was tight end 6, I believe, in points per game.
Right, we're going for differentiation here as well as most points. So we want to lean on our projections, but if we just drafted the highest projected lineup and that's what won you $1 million every year, I guarantee you one of us would have already done it. So we have to be a little bit more keen to these little sways in the way that teams move in the rankings from year to year. And Detroit had a lot of close calls, didn't win a lot of games, but they look like a team that could actually be on the rise even without a change at quarterback. Do I think it's the most likely thing that we see Detroit take a big step offensively? No, absolutely not. But is it impossible? That's also not true either. So we got to play those probabilities sometime. We already have a Mike Evans, Tom Brady stack to do what it's supposed to do this season.
Yeah, and Carlos, to your point, I've done, I think, 30 DK drafts, like 50 of these. I don't have any Hawkinson either, so I think we should both hop back on the Hawkinson train this season. And also, a quick note, next week on 7-Eleven, like the store, we will have Chris Spags joining us, Splash Play Podcast. Check him out on Twitter. He will be on next week with us, and we're going to try to get a couple more guests on with us as well, so it's not just us talking every single day.
Yeah, add a little variety, a little spice, and we're a little bit of the new kids on the block in the drafting space, at least live drafting and throwing our strategy into the mix as well. So we really appreciate you guys hanging out, also hitting that like and subscribe button. But it's good to say hello to all of our other industry folks, see how they're doing, see what they're up to, and obviously pick their brains about what they're feeling about the season coming up ahead this year.
Yeah, definitely. It's also great to just get that outside look, right? Because we've kind of talked ourselves into these players, keep moving ourselves up, and got to have someone shake us up a little bit here. So 10 picks away from our pick. We've definitely held strongly onto the anchor running back strategy. What are your thoughts, real quick? We're probably not going to get him. What do you think about Cordero Patterson? Because it seems like people are starting to spark up a little bit on Patterson again. And
Oh,
I'll
we're
be honest with you,
sparking
man.
up. We're sparking up with
And
Cordero Patterson.
they're sparking up. Yeah, he's going to get
That
suspended
sounds
for
fun.
smoking.
You just wow. The sparklers are alive and well for Cordero Patterson. Look, he's old. He has high draft capital that was never really capitalized upon until last year. His efficiency metrics actually went down once they started using him more like a traditional running back. And now his ADP is reflecting the amount of risks that you're taking. So I actually think he's a fine pick, but man, that team doesn't look like it's going to be very good. The win total's real low. The quarterback is going to run plenty, depending on, regardless of it, whether it's Mariota or Ritter behind there. And SRCC takes us out of deciding. Thank you. I really didn't want him on our team.
It's okay. I didn't want to take him either, if I'm being honest with you, but I have kind of gotten slightly higher on him. Thoughts real quick, Melvin Gordon versus
Sparking up and getting
Singletary.
higher on Cordero Patterson. You heard it. You heard it here first.
Exactly. So thoughts real quick. Do you like Gordon better or Singletary? Because for me, I like both of them, but I'd definitely rather have Singletary because I think it's pretty clear Singletary can be the number one running back, whereas Gordon, like I'm not a big believer in Javonte Williams being the guy this year, but we all know Javonte Williams is going to be probably getting at least 55 to 60% of the snaps. So Singletary should be the guy I would think of Buffalo.
I'm leaning Singletary here between Ken Walker, Gordon, and Singletary, I like the offense that Singletary is a part of. The fact that he was a top 10 running back down the stretch, so we've actually seen him do it before. And you're paying an ADP that says he doesn't even have to do it to pay off here. So Devin Singletary has significant upside compared to ADP, whereas Melvin Gordon, is he going to be a league winner? Could he pay off? Could he be better than expected right here at, pick 105, 106? Sure. Yeah, now Devin Singletary as the running back 2 on his own team. Please, we got to hit the button here.
Yeah, definitely. And I would argue that one of the reasons to like Melvin Gordon would have been if we had Russell Wilson. Maybe you just go full fucking Denver stack, right? With Cortland Sutton, Judy, and all that. But that's not how things went for us. We have only one tight end right now, TJ Hawkinson. When you draft a tight end in the middle rounds, when are you thinking about drafting your next tight end?
Man. The difference in usability. Remember, I'm always looking at games used or play weeks that the player is going to be a baseline player or above, aka he's likely going to be in your lineup if he's a part of your roster.
Yeah.
After the 10th round, the tight end position just goes slowly from 1 week of expected usability to 0 weeks of expected usability. It's just a very low gain versus expectation, which usually leads me to punting the position until the very end. I also usually have onesie positions that I'm trying to still fill, like the quarterback, like right here. I'd, I'd love to either get Derek Carr or Kirk Cousins. I think there is a drop off after that point, and I'd rather have Fields or Lawrence or Zach Wilson or Mac Jones be my third quarterback, not my second.
Yeah, definitely. And we already have Adam Thielen, so we could do a bit of a skinny stack here.
Don't jinx it, but I would love to do that as well.
Yeah, if we weren't going quarterback, my pick would have been Chase Edmonds. I really don't think people are catching on to what Chase Edmonds could potentially be in Miami. So we'll go with Mr. You Like That, Kirk Cousins.
And
Like
perfect. Yeah, Carr goes. You like that. What a video. There you go. I really dig that. And we got that little skinny stack there with Adam Thielen. I think this is a perfect build for Irv Smith if he's not off the board, or KJ Osborne, who I think is going to see plenty of snap share, at least in Minnesota.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like Irv Smith a decent amount. Carlos brought up how is he in our draft? Do your research. He is. He's in every other draft with you. There is someone in this draft that I've drafted with Thunder. I've drafted with this person and Cleveland like 7 different times.
The grinders, man. We're not alone.
Exactly. We're not the only people.
Just because we're in our mom's basement doesn't mean we're alone. That's how
exactly.
It's nice to feel that way.
Yeah, my mom's upstairs right now, and I am in the basement. So yeah, it is what it is.
Pat Fryermuth is another player who I think is going to have a very clear workload. When I look at it kind of fundamentally, do I really want the receiver 3 or the receiver 4 on the Pittsburgh offense? I wouldn't have wanted that last year, and yet Fryermuth was still quite valuable, especially when you consider the positional value. He's a player I'm coming around on. Zach Ertz, another player who I think got signed to have at least 2 more years of solid production. And we're expecting a lot of these tight ends heading into their early 30s. So why not Zach Ertz here? Travis Kelce's still a first-round pick at age 33.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? And Irv Smith gets taken, but Zach Ertz was basically like dead going into last year, right? In Philadelphia, like he wasn't doing anything. There was years prior where he's a top 3 pick at the tight end position every year. He's this consistent guy, and then he starts to fall off, and then he hops on a plane to Arizona, and magically he's good again. So very shocking, at least in my opinion. I didn't see that coming.
And everyone's expecting Marquise Brown to take that next step that he kind of already took, at least from an opportunity standpoint in Baltimore last year. What if it's Zach Ertz kind of being the steady drumbeat of that offense, and then Marquise Brown in the weeks before DeAndre Hopkins gets back, he's just the big play guy, and Rondale Moore is, of course, that guy streaking across the middle. I'm not saying that's the most likely thing here, but Zach Ertz, I said this before, your last chance to get a player who averages 7 targets a game, say through the first half of the season, is Zach Ertz at the pick 100 spot.
Yeah. Definitely. And it could be a shark captain Spock, but we're also sharks in here, so it doesn't really matter.
I hope it's a shark. I love the opportunity to do so, to draft against them.
Yeah, exactly.
What they're thinking.
Rondale Moore still on the board. We did kind of just talk about Arizona. You have any interest in him? Because I'm kind of just off of Rondale Moore, if I'm being honest with you. And I understand, like, take him in the 11th round, but as a player, I'm just not sure he's the guy.
If I'm high on a slot receiver in Arizona, or a player who's going to get open over the middle like Zach Ertz, I just had a whole diatribe. then if I'm just thinking in terms of range of outcomes, I have to take some drafts where I take Rondale Moore as well. He is not my favorite. I like Jarvis Landry a lot. And there's actually already been some positive reports with Landry saying that he's catching everything in minicamp. He was hurt last year more than we knew really, and we already saw one of those wide receivers leave Cleveland and be immediately successful on the field. Why not Jarvis Landry this year as well?
All right, so we're back up on the board here. We have 2 running backs, but unless you're super sold on Ronald Jones, I'm not too sure he's the pick here.
I don't hate the pick. I have a lot of Ronald Jones, honestly. Being a part of the Chiefs offense, the Chiefs running game is never a thing I need to be a part of, right? Because their passing attack is so valuable. So honestly, I would rather have Hardman, but Landry is my pick. Sorry to go fast there.
Okay, we got Jarvis Landry. I like Landry a lot. I have so much Jarvis Landry at this point. What do we know about Michael Thomas? The answer is nothing. Nothing comes out about Michael Thomas. Uh, he moves in silence like the G's in lasagna. That's what Lil Wayne said. So yeah, you don't know at all what the fuck Michael Thomas is doing. I saw a video of him playing yesterday. He was like out on the field. It's like, oh wow, I've seen Michael Thomas for the first time in a year, but I don't know. That offense is
I
going to be
love it
very
because I
confusing.
saw the video too, and there's like all these fantasy doctors who are like, he's not cutting hard, but this could be good because he could be back in 6 weeks because he's running. Like we don't know anything.
Yeah, we have no idea. And again, if he does play, then like we're gonna look like a bunch of dumbasses because he's probably gonna be a top 10 receiver, right? But who really knows? So
I
uh,
think there's some touchdown upside for Landry. If you think of, all right, we're up again, so I'll hold the conversation. Darrell Henderson has intrigued me more and more as we get into the season, and I think we have pretty big drop off in usage after. I want to get a third running back here before we're in the dumpster.
okay. I like Darrell Henderson as well, even though I did kind of have that diatribe earlier, if that's even the correct word, about Cam Akers. I think Darrell Henderson is still the number 2 guy there pretty clearly. And I believe that Darrell Henderson, if Cam Akers was to get banged up again, really should be the number 2 running back on the team. I understand last year it was Sony Michel, correct, who came back?
Yeah, that's right. They had Sony Michel there with Henderson while Akers was healing.
Yeah, so Sony's in Miami now, so there really should be no worry about that. So Darrell Henderson should be the clear number 2 guy if anything was to happen to Akers. And when you're hinging yourself to an offense like the Rams, that's just got to feel great, right? And it's not like Akers is going to be 70% of the carries, I wouldn't think.
Yep, absolutely. And we've seen years where the Rams randomly bring in Malcolm Brown types at the goal line, Sony Michel types at the goal line. Why not Darrell Henderson to do that, even if Cam Akers is healthy? We do need a fourth running back fairly quickly here because I just realized we doubled up the bye weeks. Normally, it wouldn't matter that much, but because there is a drop off, a really big drop off in expected usage, and we're just going to go all for upside really soon here at the position, I do think a player like Gus Edwards is really intriguing. Jamal Williams, if he's still available in the 14th or 15th round, becomes very helpful here. These are players who we maybe end up picking a player above them, but with the need for just extra touches, Marlon Mack might be on that list for you. J.D. McKissick might be on that list for you.
I
Uh,
like Mark
we need
Ingram for the potential early start to the season. Sorry. Talk over you.
No, I think that's another great one as well. I hadn't really thought of that, and I still think they may bring in a veteran, but right now, Mark Ingram, the first 6 weeks of the season, man, yeah, he's gonna get 15 to 20 touches if the roster looks the same way as it does with no Kamara available.
Yeah, it all depends on the suspension length as well, right? Because they're saying 6 games now. My best bet's probably 3 or 4 games, I would think. But again, we don't know, right? Nothing's been done yet.
Yeah, tough to. Oh, Jared Goff goes because that was the one I was kind of looking at. We still got the skinny staff of
Yeah.
the Detroit Lions.
I
Let's
really like
see.
DJ Chark, but we have so much Detroit already that probably not
There's
too
nothing wrong with stacking in Best Ball Mania. Just 3 players, that's a small stack.
Yeah, that's true. Looking at tight end, since we only have one. Again, we don't have to pick it. I was just kind of looking at the board here. Tanyan, Everett, Higby. It seems like Tanyan's ADP is bound to rise, right? As we keep getting more and more positive news for Tanyan.
Yeah, somebody's got to step up in that offense, man. Tanyan already had a really insanely high touchdown rate. Maybe he had that high touchdown rate because he's really good when he's on the field and he's a security blanket, which Rodgers absolutely needs this year without Devontae Adams. Or could it be Sammy Watkins, Huey Man 84 asks with that 13-7? I actually don't hate that pick at all. Sammy
It
Watkins
could
has
be.
huge upside.
All right, so Tunyon is on the board here. I don't think he's your pick, but what do you like here?
I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
Again,
He's
tying
my answer
ourselves
as
to
well.
elite offenses. No bye week double up.
Yeah, and
I
make sure
dig.
you guys are paying heavy attention to the bye weeks in best ball. In redraft, I'm gonna be honest, I don't give a shit when I'm drafting, right? Except for like, and it's like a super flex league or something. I really just don't care. But in these best ball leagues, I'm looking significantly heavier at the bye week compared to normal.
Yeah. With this Detroit stack, it might make us look at Carolina and Chicago. They're week 16 and 17 opponents. Again, we're not talking about going crazy here, but if we want to stack up or kind of add to that Detroit stack, we could do that. We got
Ready?
Minnesota. They actually play Robert Tunyon's Green Bay Packers in that week 17 game, so I like that skinny split. They also play the Giants in week 17. And Tampa Bay, we have a nice little synergy here because they play Carolina in week 17. So I do think it's in our best interest to try to look at a player like Robbie Anderson if still available, or just somebody on. Yeah, I think Robbie actually may be an interesting choice for us just because of the way our uh, roster is constructed. Not to say that we absolutely have to have Carolina Panthers on our team this year.
All right, so we're up on the board here. Would you want to go Gus Edwards here? Because I think we need a running back, and at this point,
Gus may be here at the next pick. Well, 160 ADP. I kind of want to get greedy and take Daniel Jones, but Gus is probably a better pick.
okay, let's go Gus. So even though we have Tom Brady and Kirk, you're still trying to go super aggressive with three quarterbacks. I mean, I read all of what Alex wrote as well, though, so I understand it.
Well, okay, so go to the quarterback list for a minute and let's show the people what I'm talking about. We do have some starters available to us, and Ryan Tannehill is one where, especially in the best ball mania, knowing that they want to be a run first team, and what if Derrick Henry gets hurt? Traylon Burks is good. There is a sliver of a possibility that they are forced into a pass heavy scheme. Daniel Jones is the last rushing quarterback
Yeah.
that I know is supposed to start all year available, and that is very valuable to me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like Tannehill a ton, though. I mean, last year just was not what what we're used to with Tannehill, especially in Tennessee. Like in Miami, he was fucking terrible. Like sometimes he was great. I know I watched every single game; it was bad, but in Tennessee, he looks really good. So
Yeah, one of the most efficient passers in the NFL leading up to last season. And when your identity in Derrick Henry is off the field, it is really hard to move all those secondary things that they rely on Henry to keep the defense off balance suddenly isn't available. So, got to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt.
yeah, definitely. So we're gonna be back up in 14 picks. Maybe DJ will be there for us. You never really know.
Well, that means that our flex pick and that Gus Edwards call was even better. Actually like this a lot. This lineup build out, a nice balance of youth and veteran status at the wide receiver position, but there's a limited sort of fall off. It's more like there's actually some upside in the elder statesman that we chose, which is rare. It's kind of a difficult trade off usually.
Yeah. And interesting what Spock was talking about. There are some sports books that let you just bet on the fantasy points that people score, and I do a lot of that. I don't know which books it is, and we're not sponsored by any of them, so I'm not going to mention any names. But yeah, but you all know who we are sponsored by, Underdog Fantasy, the sponsor of today's video.
Professional transition. I love
I
it.
don't even have the read up, but I remember it. I know everything to say. So if you use promo code AWESEMO, you'll get a $100 first match deposit bonus. That's good for 4 entries into the Best Ball Mania 3 or 20 entries into the puppy that will eventually show up again, right? It might be gone right now, but it will return. We're only in July. It's July 5th. So there was bound to be another one. Might not be super flex again, but there's going to be another one. And it's very fun to draft in July. Last year's Best Ball Mania winner actually drafted in June. So in my opinion, there's really no reason to wait. That's also what the ad read says. Wink, wink. But yeah, make sure you guys are doing these drafts. They're very fun. I do them all the time. If you ever see me in the lobby on here and you're on Twitter, screenshot it, be like, Nick, your team's fucking terrible. That'll make my day. That's pretty funny anyways when people do that. So make sure you guys check it out again. Promo code AWESEMO for that $100 first match deposit bonus. Just, a lot of the times it's hard to find free money in betting on best ball websites, and
That's
we found
right.
it for you. So make sure you guys do use that code.
Make sure you take advantage of these double up opportunities when you sign up for these new games, guys, because it is tough, just as Nick said. And the fact that Underdog makes it so easy to get into these drafts, it's such a nice app, such a nice web app. It really is a great experience, and we're happy to be sponsored by them today. Use promo code AWESEMO. Well, there go our two top quarterback 3 choices. So now I'm stuck with the slim pickings of Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. I kind of feel like we actually have to take one of them. Let's
I
take
like
Robbie.
Carson Wentz.
I kind of like Robbie Anderson here over Jamal Williams. That's my pick personally.
Yeah, I'm fine with Robbie Anderson as well. I'm hoping that we eventually see, his name is failing me. I know who he is, though. The other Panthers receiver that they drafted last year, Terrence Marshall. I'm really thinking he's eventually going to blow up because of just how good he is.
I like that call. You know, part of that LSU offense, that Joe Burrow offense, where everyone else except for him and Clyde have really taken off in the NFL. Another player that I'm a little excited to reveal today because I don't think I talked about him on a show on the Stochastic Best Ball channel. One of my new favorite late round picks. You know, it changes over the course of the offseason. It was Justin Ross at first. Now Justin Ross goes in the 14th round sometimes. Still like him. But I'm getting into Cyril Grayson, the former track star playing with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. They are obviously going to rely on Evans and Russell Gage, but they need speed on the outside. He's a
I don't
player
think we have to take him now, though, right?
No, we don't. We could take
So who do you
quarterback
want?
here if one of these two are at the top of your draft boards. McKissick is a player I have a ton of exposure to as well. KJ Hamler finishes more Denver stats for us.
Are you fine with McKissick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Then, yeah, he's the guy I wanted to get. Antonio Gibson, I don't think Antonio Gibson is finished, if I'm being honest with you, but I just don't really see him seeing this crazy amount of volume. And if I'm being honest with you, now this might sound absolutely absurd to you, but I actually would rather just wait 2 rounds and draft Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I agree. I guess. I think Carson Wentz stinks.
I don't like Carson Wentz either, if I'm being honest with you, but I mean, like, if you look at the stats, he wasn't that bad. He just choked in like the easiest game ever against the Jaguars.
He's a baseline quarterback in the NFL, which will get you paid for plenty of time, as we've seen over and over and over again. And at least from an arm strength standpoint, he's probably above average. But based on the reports coming out of Indianapolis and how different the mood is this year compared to last year with Carson Wentz at the helm, now with Matt Ryan at the helm in Indy, I have a feeling there are a lot of deficiencies behind the scenes that we can't really tell when we're just analyzing the metrics, which are, to be fair to Carson Wentz, okay. They've never, ever hit that MVP level he was playing at in the 2017 season before he tore his ACL.
Yeah, that is true. And
Here, the amazing part, sorry, just to say one last thing. Carlos Manza talking about in the chat, how in the world does Detroit have the most expensive offense in the league? It's all about that Goff contract, right? Goff has a ridiculous contract, which is why
that's what I was going to say.
Making it work with that Stafford deal, they had to get rid of Jared Goff in the deal. It literally couldn't happen otherwise. So
yeah, did you see that Sean McVay is like, oh, I feel bad about how I dealt with the Goff situation. Like, you don't fucking feel bad. You got rid of Goff and you won the Super Bowl. You know you don't feel bad.
I mean, I think he feels bad for Jared Goff. He probably likes Jared Goff, the person. Would he do it 100 times out of 100? Probably.
Definitely 100% of the time, so it doesn't really bother me. So, seeing here, interesting pick. I think Marlon Mack has to be one of the more interesting players here because he really could be the number 1 in Houston going in the 16th round, but we also don't know how good he is coming off that injury from a couple years ago.
I just can't get behind a player who couldn't play his way onto the field and he requested a trade, blah, blah, blah. Jonathan Taylor, you don't take Jonathan Taylor off the field for Marlon Mack, especially post-injury. And Nyheim Hines had his specialist role carved out for him. We're talking about a player with four touches a game last year. Like, we're getting way too excited, in my opinion. Somebody's got to... I think Rex Burkhead could just have his role from the end of last year, and we're all sleeping on him.
Yeah, there's a lot of steam real quick as we go to make this next pick on James Prochet, wide receiver of the Ravens, who I've drafted a lot of already, so I love that. And John Mechie's a guy that I've been hammering at this pick late in the draft. Again, we don't know when he's necessarily going to return, but I think when he returns, it's pretty clear he's going to be the number 2 behind Cooks. And I think Mills is a little better than we give him credit for.
Cyril Grayson.
Yeah, that's fine. We could go with him with the last pick. Here we could take. Oh God, do you want to go
So we'd have to go
Jones?
Carson Wentz here.
Wentz
Oh,
is
he's
ready to take
gone.
him.
What did I say? What did I say, Notorious?
I'm sorry. Who do you
Now
want
we
then?
got
Do
to
you
go
not even
Mac
want-
Jones. We got to go Mac.
I think Mac Jones is gonna kind of have a better year. The problem is he's just a statue, so you don't get any of the rushing upside at all.
And you know, like the per drive stats for the Patriots aren't bad whatsoever, and they're changing offensive coordinators. Well, I guess they're keeping it in house, but Daniels is gone. I don't know. He's a quarterback 3. He is a statue. No rushing upside. Whatever to speak of, whatsoever. Can't speak.
So Cyril Grayson's your pick, correct?
This has been one of my fun late round picks. Trying to get the people ready for the possibility that a track star who can outrun defenses might get some deep balls from Tom Brady.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Grayson did show up a bit last year. I mean, Scotty Miller showed up 2 years ago, so I mean, I'm not too
Grayson
sure.
to me just has a little more upside. Yeah, I'm just kind of rotating at the end of drafts here, especially when I have these Tom Brady stacks, which I'm getting plenty of. Believe me, I'm getting higher and higher on Mike Evans, and then I'm just taking some late round flyers on Miller, on Grayson. I even have a little bit of Brashad Perryman now. Still drafting end of the draft Rob Gronkowski sometimes, but to be honest, I just want a piece of this offense because I know Evans and Gage, especially until Godwin come back, can't catch everything.
Yeah, that is very true. I like how Captain Spock said Jared Goff's name is Jack Goff. Very funny. Get it? Very funny. Hey, can you help my uncle Jack off a horse? All right, so
I'm so glad the draft is over because we get to show ourselves out very, very soon. Let's start going through the team here, and then we'll analyze the draft board. I like the projection getting north of 2750 because that means we are staying close to our projections, but we don't need that 3K projection that sometimes people say that they need to get. We don't need to be the number 1 projected team at all because we want to lean into these stacks a little bit more. But I do like that foundationally, even though we forego running back until pick 80 after the first round, we still have plenty of projected points.
yeah, so our quarterback room, and just to be clear, I don't even look at the projections at all. I don't think I've ever once looked at that because that's just something that I just don't buy a bunch into. Especially like if it was our projections, then yeah, I'd buy into it. But the underdog projections are not overwhelmingly concerning me. So our team is, of course, the draft ends as I go.
That's a good point.
So let me just refresh because I'm gonna have to refresh. There's my last draft I did while running because I had to do the underdog cardio challenge.
Nice,
Get that
very nice.
free T-shirt. I completed it, and I have a lot of Matthew Stafford from that because he was always available. But our team here, we were pulling up if it would load for us. Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins, Mac Jones. Our running backs are Najee Harris, Devin Singletary, I almost said Darnell Mooney, Darrell Henderson, Gus Edwards, and J.D. McKissick. Our receivers are Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Adam Thielen, Jarvis Landry, Robbie Anderson, Cyril Grayson. And our tight ends are Big Bob Tunyon and T.J. Hawkinson. I like our team a ton. I feel like maybe we should have drafted another running back, but that's just me because, I don't know, I guess I'm a little too scared.
I think we did a great job of not playing scared with the running back.
It's true.
Position.
No, we didn't play scared at all.
I actually, you transitioned us perfectly to exactly what I was going to talk about, which is I think we had a lot of concerns about the running back position all the way through. Is kind of in the back of our heads, and we still stayed true to our strategy while not foregoing projections. So we got a bunch of skinny stacks. We got some solid players on solid offenses. The one thing I am upset about is, are we really going to get some sort of Denver onslaught? I almost feel like if we're just looking from a game stacking standpoint, if we're going to take Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and we're going to say, hey, we're going to be playing for this championship, we really going to have no Chiefs on the other side? It does lead to some skinny stacking opportunities. Like maybe our main stack is actually Brady and the Bucks and then Robbie Anderson in Carolina, skinny stacked with Detroit and Denver. That's a real possibility. That's what we're hoping for. But ultimately, I do feel like we didn't get enough Chiefs. is my big complaint.
Yeah, but you never really know, right? That's week 17. Pat Mahomes might be hurt. You never know.
Very good point. A lot that we can't project. A lot that we can't project. And you know what? This wide receiver core rocks, man. This is a great, great combination of they've already done it and we need them to do it again. They started to do it and now we need them to do it for a full season, or they have the talent to put it all together. Even Robbie Anderson has had a 1,000-yard seasons in this league. So
Yeah, and we have top 5 guys that I legitimately think, like these top 5 receivers, I could see all of them. Now they're not all going to finish inside top 10, but I think there is potential for that. And then I also like the tight ends we got because I don't have a lot of Hawkinson. I think Tanyan, the second we get more confirmation on him, I think his ADP is going to kind of shoot up, kind of similar to where he was. Not maybe last year, people were really high on him, but probably closer to the top 12 range than where he's coming up for now.
I agree. I think he has top 12 talent and the offense he plays on, especially with the uncertainties surrounding the receiving core and who's going to get what piece of the target share, leads Robert Tunyon to being underrated right now. Really, really interesting draft. We see, I really like this Thunder 41 395 team. 4 wide receivers in the first 5 rounds, but you go James Conner. J.K. Dobbins is a player that I'm kind of souring on because it really does sound like he's quite limited at this point. But
Yeah.
as a running back 2 around pick 70, you're not busting your draft because of that. I really like the structure, and even DeAndre Hopkins in round 7. Can you scroll down just so I see who ended up with his at the quarterback position, because he did wait a while.
Yeah, it's Justin Fields and Daniel Jones and Kenny Pickett.
So he needs Pickett to hit, or Fields or Jones to play well above their ADP to really have a shot here. Because remember, raw fantasy points matter, guys. It's going to be a hard time making up their way from the QB 23, 24 expectation for those players to the QB1 upside that he's going to be going up against every single week. That said, that one sticks out to me, as well as Team 7 there with the 4 running backs in the first 5 picks. Anything stand out to you before we head out of here today?
Yeah, I think the team kind of made a bit of a mistake going with Elijah Mitchell. If I'm being honest with you, draft 3 running backs that early, I probably would just fade away from the position. But that's just me. And then to Captain Spock's point, I would have taken a tight end 3 red zone guy instead of Grayson. It really just depends on our build because I'm very comfortable with the 2 tight ends we had. Had we have maybe punted further, that might have been a better idea in my opinion. So thank you guys for watching today's stream. I appreciate it a bunch. Again, we'll be joined with Chris Spags, 7-11, just like the store, as I said. So next Monday, we'll be back. Normally, these drafts are all on Monday, but, the schedule hasn't been the greatest because we've had things come up on Monday. And, Monday was the 4th of July. So, again, I hope everyone still has all their fingers from the 4th of July. Hope everyone has a great rest of their day. And you got anything to add here before we hit that outro music?
You said it perfectly. He's Nick at Notorious FNTSY. I'm Matt at Draftaholic. Give us a follow, like, and subscribe. We'll see you next Monday. Have a great one, guys.
Adios, mis amigos. Bye-bye.